Hi again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Around the Town with Chuck. My name is Chuck Guglielmo, and it's a weekly interview show where we talk with interesting people. And today we're going to talk Conneaut High School Spartan football with the head coach of the Conneaut Spartans, Rocco Dobran. Rocco, how are you today?
Good, doing great.
Good. And Rocco also brought along a couple of players that we'll be chatting with a little bit later in this interview. It's hard to believe, but football is here already. How are you handling this humidity with the kids in practice?
Oh, they're loving it.
They're loving it.
They're excited about it. Yep. No, it's helping them, get in shape, and we've had a lot of hot games week 1 and 2 in the past, and so they don't like it all that much. But I think it's actually helping them get used to that heat with the shoulder pads on. And we've taken a couple days where we went no shoulder pads in the afternoon just so we get a better practice out of it. And when we do 2 days anyways, we kind of go two a days one day and then a longer single the next day. And we start at 8 in the morning. So, by the at least we're trying to beat the heat as far as the hottest part of the day. But I do think it should help them in the long run get used to that climate in week 1.
So when did practice actually start? Was it the 1st of August?
August 1st, yes.
August 1st. And how many players are out this year?
Our roster's right around that 50 mark, 49, 50. But we got some injuries and that kind of thing, but we're right around that 50 on the roster.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to get into a lot of that stuff. I want to talk about the roster, the schedule, records, your new conference that you'll be going and everything. So let's start with your coaching staff. First of all, this is your 5th year?
I'm going into year 6.
Year 6.
Yes. 3
winning seasons in a row. Hopefully that's going to be 4 when we talk to you at the end of the year.
Yes, we hope so.
Let's talk about your coaching staff. Go through your coaching staff and if they've been there as long as you have also.
Okay, first I've coached Matt Pape. He's been there the whole time with me. He's our running backs coach and helps out with linebackers. But he's been there the whole time since day one. We also have Aaron Joslin, who's our defensive coordinator. And it's to the point where his first year he volunteered, but he's been with me the whole time. His second year he took over as a defense coordinator, and it's really at the point where I just totally trust whatever he does, and so he runs the defense pretty much, and I just kind of give it the okay. I just give an overall look and give it the okay, and he does a great job with that. So he's been there since the beginning also. We added Coach Tim Telbacca 2 years ago, and he's been our special teams coordinator, and he's doing a great job, and he does defensive line. And he's doing some offensive line this year, which is new for him, but he's taken on it well, and he likes it. We also have Coach Tony Pastanen, who also started 2 years ago. He used to do my younger program, 7th and 8th grade, and he is the head girls basketball coach. So he had 1 year off where he had a kid, and took 1 year break and then wanted back into it, and so he's been back into it the last couple of years with me, and he's coaching receivers and DBs for us this year. So it's a little bit of a change for him, but he's enjoying it, doing a great job. We also have a new addition this year, Bill Lips, who's coached everywhere supposedly, and
former Conneaut guy.
Yeah, he's a former Conneaut guy, and he brings a lot of experience to the staff, and he's doing a great job. And our offensive line really, you just see them, they're hard, but they just love having him as their coach, and he makes it fun for those guys, and he still works them at the same time. So.
I'm thinking he's coming over from Lakeside, is it? Or Edgewood?
Last year he was the defense coordinator for Geneva. Yeah, a couple years back he was at Edgewood. But yeah, last year he was the defense coordinator for Geneva, so he's coming over and helping us out. So we're excited to have him there. Tony Tadero is a volunteer coach who's been around a lot, also helping out receivers and defensive backs, and this is his 2nd year helping us. And he just does a great job, especially for a volunteer guy. He's driving over from Palmatoon Valley, but he's just he's an energetic coach that relates to kids really well. So he's helping us. And then once the season starts, Teddy Johnson's been here the whole time as a volunteer.
Speaking of energetic.
Yeah, it's a very energetic guy, and he gets the kids pumped up and going. Unfortunately, he works during the day, so he starts coming once we get to the after-school schedule. But he always gets that practice uplift, when it's time to do that. And then also as a volunteer last year and a paid assistant this year is Jeff Appleby, who's the next head coach at Conneaut, and so he gives us a lot of great experience, and he's another one who has great ideas when it comes to hey, let's do something fun in practice today, and he always comes up with some kind of crazy idea for the kids to do something fun. And he's very knowledgeable and very good at teaching the details. And sometimes I miss the details, and he's great at, getting these kids to pay attention to those little details. So I think our staff every year just gets, keeps continuing to improve and get a little better and better. And they know more of what I do now. It's been year 6, like I said, so they kind of know me pretty well and know what they're going to get from me and what they're not going to get from me, and we've all become really good friends, and our families are all good friends, and it's just a joy to work with them.
Seems like a pretty good solid staff you got. You mentioned the younger program that Tony Passett used to do. Who are your 7th and 8th grade coaches?
This year we had a little bit of a change. Matt Bidwell couldn't do it this year, so we had Greg Woods and Mike Sanford take over, who's done a lot of work with the youth program. And those guys were very receptive when they were at the youth program at COI of trying to, do down there, like kind of mimic what we're doing up here, just at a lower level, keeping it simple for those kids. And they got into this situation where I was telling them, hey, let's make it fun at that level, and get kids to really buy in and have fun with those kids instead of trying to run them off. And not that anyone would try to run them off, but I think sometimes at that level, it's easy. You work them a little too hard, there's that fine line. Just have fun at that level. And they listened exactly what I said. And I moved them up to the middle school because I felt it would be a great transition for those guys. They know those CLYO kids. They're going to bring it up to the middle school where you can be a little bit more competitive and that kind of thing.
What are you seeing so far about your team during the practices? I know you've also had some scrimmages recently against some of the county schools. I read in the paper where you were happy with the play of the line. What are you seeing so far that looks good to you, or what you need to work on?
I think, as always, this early in the year, there's so many things you see that you need to work on. But I got to keep reminding myself, as every single year you get those first 2 scrimmages, and it's going to look a little sloppy. But when you break down the film and you actually watch it, you see it's just a little thing here, a little thing here, a little bit more effort on this play. Are we carrying out our fakes and those kind of little things? But as far as just the players, the thing I love most is they're giving effort for the most part. And the ones that aren't, that's where we got to correct. But they're really giving the effort. They know my system now. Tyson's back. You'll talk to him a little bit. Just a great leader.
Back from an injury?
Yes, back from an injury. So he knows what I expect, and sometimes he corrects me, like, hey coach, don't you want this? I'm, oh yeah, I do, I want that. So we've been very pleased with the way our offensive line is doing right now. It's it's a good mix of juniors and seniors, and they're just doing a great job. Our middle is very solid with Tyson coming back. We have Sturgill back at the tailback position. Rivera is a tailback / slot receiver. So that middle is pretty solid on both sides, offense and defense, because the defensive line, again, junior heavy, junior senior heavy, and then linebacker we have Sturgill again, and we have Alex Rivera is a 4-year starter at the strong safety position, and so he's a safety, but it's kind of that middle area, and he's doing a great job leading there.
Will he also serve as a backup to?
He'll serve as a backup to Tyson. He's doing it all. He's Tyson's backup, and he's going to be Sturgill's backup because Mikey Williams got hurt, and he's also our starting slot receiver. He kind of reminds me of C.J. Rice from 3 years ago when we had that first winning season, where C.J. was the backup quarterback, tailback, slot, and he kind of did it all, and he started on defense, and that's kind of where Rivera is, and Drew is our center, so he kind of leads that offensive line with Chance as his left guard. But a lot of those guys that I just mentioned are captains. We're very solid in the middle. So and then at the outside positions where we're learning, we have a lot of young kids playing at our other receiver spots and our corners and safeties. There's a good chance we'll have a freshman starting safety and a sophomore starting corner and a couple of sophomores and juniors starting at the receiver positions. But the good thing about that is no one knows who's starting, and we as coaches are just finding out who's probably going to start. So those guys have been working to compete all summer, which is making them better and better every day because no one has the job. It's not, this guy's got the job, this guy's got the job. They've been competing. And,
nothing better than competition.
That's right. So those guys are getting better every day, and Tyson's kind of, seeing who he really feels comfortable throwing to, and we're seeing as coaches who are, hey, these guys are outside with really good blockers, and, because we are going to run the ball a lot with Alex back there, and Tyson's a great runner as well as a thrower. So we got a lot of different things. We got a tight end this year. We haven't had a tight end very often. We don't, in my system, we haven't really done a whole lot of tight end play. But this year, we're fortunate to have a 6'1", 235-pound tight end, so we're going to use him. And he's a good athlete. It'd be another target for Tyson, let alone a good blocker.
Mm-hmm. How much emphasis in practice do you put on ball handling? Do you look at that?
Absolutely. I expect the coaches to, in individual drills, to kind of work on that. With the running backs, and and even when the receivers, after they catch the ball, we tell them to chin in, get that ball up by their chin, to really protect it. And since we are a read offense, where Tyson's reading a lot of times, there are some exchange issues every once in a while, and Tyson's on it before I am. Hey, let's get some push-ups in there. We drop the ball. Whoever's fault it is doesn't matter. Let's get push-ups in. Let's do up downs, whatever. Just to remind them, hey, it's important to hang on to this ball. And I always joke with them, say, hey, this is $1 million ball, and if it's $1 million, you're not going to let it go. So get two arms around it and hold it tight. And so we definitely we take on ball control is very serious, and on defense side to get the ball, to cause turnovers, and that's one thing from the two scrimmages. If I'm correct, we didn't have any turnovers in both scrimmages, and in both scrimmages we caused a couple turnovers. So that was a bright side in the scrimmages, that we were probably about +5 in the turnover category. So that's a good thing.
When you first came to Conneaut 6 years ago, you talked about 3 things that came before football that I really believe in, that it really stuck with me as well. You talked about family, you talked about faith, and you talked about education, all 3 of them with football coming forth. Try to give us your feeling on that.
Well, that was my philosophy coming in, and it's not going to change. I tell the parents that every parent meeting, and now I started to put some signs up around the building with our philosophy to try to instill it in these kids. And we talk about faith, and in the school setting, we focus just on character, like doing the right thing, helping other people. Our community gives us a lot. It's a great community to live in, and there's so many people that support the football program. And I try to tell these kids they got to give back to that community. Anytime you're doing something for somebody else, it's a good thing. It's the best thing you can possibly do to be happy in life. Is to constantly give to others, give to other people. Just like our community gives to us, we give to other people. And so when we talk about faith, we're trying to talk about those character things, being polite, yes sir, no sir, please, thank yous, and all those
Even
things.
to the referees.
Yeah, we try, and I say we'll let our assistant coaches yell at the referees, and we're gonna treat them as best we can, no matter what the situation is. And you got 50 kids, and kids are at times are going to mess up, but it's learning lessons, just like coaches are going to mess up, and but they do a good job of knowing, before I even have to say anything, if they did something wrong or that kind of thing, and they're usually very apologetic, and they understand. Maybe they thought they were having fun and went a little too far, or whatever it is, but we focus on that faith-wise. Family-wise, we want them to understand, hey, family's important, and it's everyone has struggles with their family because they live together. And anytime you live with someone, you're not always going to agree with them. So you're going to fight with mom sometimes, fight with dad sometimes, brother and sister. But at the end of the day, they're family. They're going to be there for you. When that crunch time comes in life, when you really need someone, your family's going to be there. And if you're truly in a situation where you don't have that, and because there are those circumstances, hopefully they could feel like we have a football family going on here. And that we're tight knit, and they can go to a buddy or a buddy's, whatever, or a coach. And I tell them all, and I hope they could all trust in me. But if everyone kind of latches onto somebody else, and that's why it's great to have 7 or 8 assistant coaches, and to have Scott Walsh around the program, and to have a team doctor around the program, and have Monica around the program. There's a lot of people around the program that can be mentors to these kids, and they can talk to. So hopefully, with all those people around the program, there's somebody that they feel comfortable talking to as a family, that
Exactly.
that they can go to and connect to if they're having those issues or serious problems at home.
You mentioned Monica. What a job she does for all the sports teams.
She does. She does a great job, and she does a great job of building relationships with the kids. And it's not just, I'm going to do my job and that's it. She gets to know the kids and talks to them, and we joke a little bit too much because she always got all the kids in her office, and we were like, get out of there, get out of the training room, right? But it's good that she has that kind of bond with the kids, and that they trust her. So
And you're talking about community support. I think you have, from what I see, one of the best booster clubs around, the Downtown Coaches Club. How beneficial are they for you guys?
oh, they're awesome. They do a great job of doing the right things, and obviously they're asking a lot of people for money here and there, and the town has been very supportive. But it's a very small group, and they do a lot. And like you said, and these kids are able to get fed weekly on Thursday. Our Thursday night dinners, they get fed after games. We're able to give them. We got new jerseys this year, which is a big part of them, and then the school also helped out. But new jerseys, and we have equipment needs. They're there, so these kids get a lot, and they've done a lot for us, and they really go out and support, and then they do the right things and send thank you letters to those people that help us out, and we try to be very giving to those people that help us out.
And then they don't quit after the season, because then they're preparing for your awards banquet.
That's
You
right.
really do a hard job there, and a good job.
We do. We go all year round. I mean, the meetings lessen. We only have like once a month in the off season, but they go all year round because there's always something that we're doing as a program. We only take 1 month off, like you said. With my contact with the kids is I have 1 month off, but in that 1 month off, we're doing the awards banquet. We're doing all county voting. Now we're gonna have conference voting and all that kind of stuff. So. And then still trying to stay on top of their grades, and make sure their grades are right, even though it's the off season. You sticking with those grades all the way through, and not just getting good grades during football season in the fourth 9 weeks so you're eligible, but hey, we're looking to try to get into college, which means you got to have them grades all the way, so that these kids have opportunities when they graduate, and we want them to have opportunities, and they need to carry them grades over, and some's tough, and some latch on well, but when you have 50 kids, that's the way it works. And but I think the coaches do a good job of trying to get that across to the kids.
They sure do. Let's take a little bit at your schedule. Of course, like I said, you just had that scrimmage against familiar foes that you've seen before. Now you're going to have 8 teams that you haven't seen before, 7 of them from Pennsylvania. First of all, what about this new conference? Are you excited about going into this conference?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's a great thing to have a conference. It's a great thing for these kids to play for something. Since they've been here, they've never had a chance. I mean, the only thing they're playing for is really the playoffs, and they knew they had to win 9 or 10 games probably to get there. And they've always given their best effort to that. But now to have a conference to play for, it just gives you a little bit something, more to be excited about. So you play for the playoffs and the conference championship and those kind of things. It's a little sad, to lose the rivals games, and hopefully we can get those back on the schedule as soon as we figure out how the scheduling for PA. We kind of know how it works, but hopefully we could get at least the Edgewood back on the schedule and maybe keep Grand Valley like we have.
I heard the third year you're going to get them.
Year.
That's
Okay.
what the AD was saying.
Well, that would be great. That would be great. So we want to get those teams back on the schedule, and other than that, I think it's a great thing. Or if we could eventually get the Ashtabula County to do a league, I don't know, but they've been trying for years and haven't. So that would be great. But if that's not going to happen, then this is the next best thing. And we're just going to have to start having new rivals. I mean, Girard's 20 minutes down the road. Fairview's about 30 minutes down the road. So they're pretty darn close. And I think through time, if we stick in this league, that those will become the rivals. And that'll be a good thing. That'll be a good thing.
Well, the first 2 weeks of your schedule, you're pretty familiar with these teams because you're down around that area. LeBray is a week from this Friday at the 26th, and then you come home for the home opener against Champion. Champion you have been playing for a few years now. LeBray's a new opponent. What can you?
Yeah,
A couple sentences or two. Tell us about LeBray and Champion.
LeBray they're right in the same area, right in that Warren area, and LeBray has been up the last couple of years. They made the playoffs last year, and I know they went at least 2 rounds in. It's a very solid team, and they're kind of very similar to us in the fact that they lost kind of a lot of their starters from last year. They probably have 4 or 5 returning starters on both sides of the ball, but they lost a lot. And they probably have around 40 kids, just like we have. We have about,
school size is about the same.
Yeah. The school size is about the same. I think they're at the top of Division 5, and we're at the bottom of Division 4. So school size is the same. We both have about the same amount of returning starters back. So it should be a good matchup, very similar in who they got coming back and who we got coming back. They returned their quarterback with a very good receiver, but a lot of new linemen, a lot of new linebackers, that kind of stuff, and that new tailback. And we got our guys in the middle back, and then we got some new receivers and new corners. So it should be a good matchup. And then champion, they had our number the first couple of years, and the last couple of years we've had their number, and they got a new coach too. So even though we've been playing them, they got a new coach this year. So
and it'll be 90 and chances of a thunderstorm.
yes, and there will be some kind of weather issue. There will be some kind of weather issue. There always has been.
Wasn't it twice we had to play them and come back on a Saturday?
Last year, 2 years ago we did that, and last year we had a long rain delay, and we just stuck it out until it stopped. But it almost came down to that, and we just kept telling the rest, we'll stick it out, we'll stick it out, we'll stick it out. So we ended up finishing, but it was almost 2 years in a row, yes, that happened.
Your third game is at Oil City, but I understand that is not a conference game, even though it's from Pennsylvania.
Yes, they scheduled that game for us. So it was one of the things new in the league. We didn't want to rock the boat very much because we were under the understanding we were going to have four Ohio teams. But then they scheduled that for us because that's what they were doing for the other teams, and that's how they do it. So
they went into that Geneva slot.
Yes, they went in that Geneva slot, and I don't know a whole lot about them other than it's about an hour and 40-minute drive. So it's gonna be that game where we travel and we're gonna do our best. So.
Then your first conference game is against Mercyhurst Prep, which happens to be homecoming night.
Yes, and it's a private school from Erie, and I know last year they were 1-9, but those schools you just never know who they got coming in and that kind of thing, and so we'll be excited. That'll be the first test of the league, and that's we'll get the hype going right then. Hey, it's a new conference game, and a new season starts right now. Even after the first 3 games, now we got a new season, and we got one goal, and that's to win the conference championship. So.
Mm-hmm. Back-to-back home games for the conference start. For the start of the conference, on the 23rd, you get Titusville. Know anything about them?
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot except for they're probably the second furthest team away. So I'm glad they're coming to us and playing at home. And I think they were even in a different region last year, and they got bumped to this region. So I think their record was kind of low last year, but they were also playing some bigger schools. So that's really all I know about them.
The only game I'm going to miss will be the away game on the 30th at Corey.
Mm-hmm. Very solid.
That's pretty
team.
far away too, right?
Yes, yeah. Corey's it's running out a little over an hour, I think. So, and just from reading their preview, it says they got about 8 or 9 returning starters on both sides of the ball. So they should be a pretty solid team. I know they were like a 6-4 team last year.
Then home for Harbor Creek, another conference matchup.
I think they're probably the biggest team in the conference. And again, they were right around that 6-4 mark last year, and very solid team.
Then the two big rivalries that, because of closeness, at Girard and at Fairview.
Yes, and I think those are the schools that we're going to make our rivals. I think that's just going to happen. I think it's just going to happen.
I would think so.
Girard was 1-9 last year, but they got a new coach, and their quarterback threw for almost 2,000 yards last year. So they were 1-9, new coach, good quarterback. It looks like they're going to turn that corner, and it'll be a good competitive game. And then Fairview's they've won that league the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's what I was told.
And they're actually the smallest league. They're the smallest team in the league, even a little smaller than us. But they're just a very solid team. They got 9 returning starters on both sides of the ball. They do lose a tailback that had rushed for like 2,500 yards though. But again, those are those games our kids I think will really get pumped up for and be.
I think so.
On their A game by then.
The camera girl there is from Fairview, so. And then we close out. I hate to bring up bad memories, but Grand Valley, you must have a nightmare from that game last year.
Yeah, I have a couple nightmares from last year, but yeah, it was a tough one. It was a tough one, and but John Glavicus is their coach. He's a great coach and a good friend of mine, and it'll always be a fun game to play.
Yeah, it's good to keep that rivalry.
Yeah, and it's a great. I'm glad we got to keep that one. That would definitely be my second choice after Edgewood, and ever since that, probably that first year was my first game as a head coach was very ugly, but ever since it's been competitive back and forth. It's been a lot of close games and a lot of fun playing them.
So closing out this segment of talking about the schedule, how much tougher is it for you to prepare for teams that you're not really familiar with, like the Edgewoods, the Genevas?
I think it's going to be a lot harder in the sense that it's brand new, but it's going to be a little bit exciting because it's new. It's everyone likes that new challenge, something different, and it'll probably be good in the fact that we always talk to the kids about taking one game at a time. Like, we don't know those teams, so there's no use in really preparing for how good are they truly or any of that. All we could do is on our end is just let's try to get a little bit better every single day. Every day we come out to practice as an individual and as a team. Let's just try to get a little bit better. And if we continue to do that every single day, just get a little bit better, where do we stack up once we get there? And so it forces us to truly take that one game at a time. Because we always say one game at a time, one game at a time, one game at a time. But it's always in the back of your head, but we got Edgewood in 2 weeks. Or, we got PV, and we know what they got. So you kind of start saying, well, when we see them in 2 weeks, this is what we're going to get. Well, now we don't know what we're going to get. It's going to be, let's truly wait until we play this game, and this game's over. And then that Saturday afternoon when we can get to that next team, now let's focus on that team. So it's really gonna be 1 week at a time.
But it'll be the same way for them. I mean, they don't really know you either.
Absolutely, they don't know us either. So it'll be a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait for it. PIAA, I think it's. What's the I stand for?
I don't know.
Oh.
I've always known the initials. I've always known the initials, but I never pay attention to that. You know.
I couldn't figure out what the I
Pennsylvania,
stands for.
yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the roster, and then we'll bring in the kids just briefly over the roster. I know you're going to lose one of the best receivers I've seen in Connie in a long time, first-teamer Alex Curtis. Who will go into that slot?
This year, as far as receivers go, you're going to mention a couple on there. So we really got a lot of different guys kind of rotating in right now. One of them is Johnny West. He's going to be a junior. He seems to be a kind of a go-to guy, is playing in that spot. And he was rotating a little bit with P.J. Matthews, who's a sophomore, who just really gained a lot of weight over the offseason and became a thicker kid. Those are two targets that are going to fill that spot.
What about Justin Myers?
Justin Myers will be on the other side. So we have Stephen Gaugh's younger brother, Kyle Gaugh. He's going to be a junior now. And so he'll be the first guy getting Z reps over there with Austin Pinkerton as his backup, kind of rotating in that Z spot where he played.
Some working off of last year's roster,
right.
So it may not be. Marcus Berkman, I know you lost him as well.
Yeah, Marcus, he was mainly a defensive player, but the few times we did have a tight end, he was the tight end. This year, I think we're going to go with more tight end because we have Alan Christine replacing him, and he's that guy, as I was talking about earlier, 235-pound tight end. And we also got Nathan Lauer, who's going to be like a tight end wing kid. He used to be an offensive lineman, yeah, and those guys that can play tight end or that like wing slot spot as good blockers, but also can catch the ball. So those two guys will kind of take Berkman's spot.
When I saw number 7 walking in, I thought it was Isaiah Narangas. I says, oh, he's not coming back, is he?
Right.
But what about Isaiah? Who's taking that spot?
Isaiah was a defensive guy. And Kyle Gaugh and Austin Pinkerton are going to be our two corners to start off. So that's one of Isaiah's spots, and actually that's Meyer's spot on the other corner. So Austin Pinkerton and Kyle Gaugh will be the two corners. And then replacing Gertie's at the free safety on defense was going to be Mikey Williams. He broke his foot. He should be back about mid-season. So Tyson might get some reps as free safety, but we want to keep him healthy too. So Seth Fedor, who's a freshman, has been getting some reps. And as soon as he gets the mental side of the game down, because he's new, freshman, he's going to be okay. He's a very physical kid and a very fast kid for a freshman. He really works hard. So we might be out there week 1 with the freshman starting at safety. So that's kind of how it rounds up with all those guys on offense and defense.
Isaiah, I always looked at him as kind of an unsung hero. He came up with some big interceptions.
Isaiah was one of those kids that he had big interceptions and he made a lot of tackles at the line of scrimmage, which you don't get a whole lot of corners that made as many tackles as he did and caused turnovers and that kind of thing. And that's one thing we're going to miss. But those guys out there working now, they have their own strength and. Like Isaiah did get beat deep sometimes because he was so aggressive. So it was that give take, and I think with Kyle and Austin, they might not hit as hard, but they might play pass and not give up the deep ball. So you're always going to get that give and take with who you got.
James Bruning.
James Bruning was our left tackle and defensive end, and
didn't he score a touchdown last year?
He came close. He got like 2-yard line, I think. He came down to like the 2-yard line. But we did give him the ball to have some fun in that last game. Tanner Capen's going to be our left tackle this year, so he'll be taking over. He's a junior and a good guy on the offensive line there.
So pretty good. I didn't want to go over all the roster, but
Yeah.
those are some of the main things I wanted to hit on. Let's see what else I got for you. Let's see here. Well, why don't we bring in the kids, and then I'll have you stay here and you can introduce them for us.
Okay, sounds
Talk to
great.
the kids. Come on in. Okay, you have with us,
We have Tyson Hunt, who was our quarterback last year. He threw for 1,000 yards in the first 7.5 games before he got hurt. And he, like I said, he might be playing some safety for us this year. And we have Chance Woodworth, who is he's going to be our left starting guard, and he's also a senior. And he also plays a little bit of nose when we need the bigger guy. We need to beef up the defensive line on short situations. He's a guy that we'd like to throw in there to fill that gap.
and both these guys are in their fourth year?
Yes, they're both
They played
seniors.
4 years of Conneaut High School
Yes.
football. Tyson, how have you recovered from the injury?
I've made a complete recovery. I'm back and I'm a lot better than I was last year, a lot stronger, a lot faster.
Of course, you didn't get to play any baseball.
I did.
Oh, you did play
I did,
baseball?
Yeah.
The whole season?
Yes, I did.
Oh, so 'cause I know when we talked to you at the end of the year, it was kind of questionable whether you were going to be able to play.
Yeah, I made it back a lot faster than I thought I was going to be able to. And was able to play the whole season.
He did his rehab like he was supposed to. Right.
Well, what are you looking forward most going into your senior year?
Having something to play for as far as the league
Like you
goes.
mentioned,
And
yeah.
just having a championship to look forward to and play for.
Uh-huh. What about Chance over there? What are you looking forward to going into this season, team-wise?
Same idea. I'm really excited to be able to play in a conference for the first time for football. I played 4-1 in wrestling last year in the EOWL.
I saw you wrestle.
It was awesome winning the conference championship tier for the EOWL in wrestling, and I want to feel the same thing for football. So it's really exciting.
What about a personal goal for yourself going into your senior year of football? Are you one that sets goals that you want to accomplish?
Well, I want to get a lot better this year than I was last year, and I want to be able to help the team grow. We have a lot of young guys as well, so I'm excited.
Tyson, what about you as far as personal goals?
I just want to be the best leader I can and continue what I did last year with throwing the ball and doing my part on the field.
Of course, you're a good runner as well, so you can always just, if you can't find a receiver, you can run for 40, 50 yards if you had to. Is that right, Rocco?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think against Wyndham, we had 4 rushing touchdowns last year. So, he does have that capability of, running the ball and throwing the ball.
So, do you like playing the other parts of the game besides quarterback?
I like playing defense a lot, but I kind of feel myself like half go sometimes when I'm on defense because I don't want to hurt myself on the offensive side.
What are your guys' take on playing these new opponents that we just went through with on the schedule rather than the Edgewoods and the Jeffersons of the world?
It's going to be a lot different to not play those rivalry teams and the teams that we play every year and know what they're going to do every year. Like he said, we won't know what they have until we get the film the week of we play them to be able to prepare.
Chance, walk me through a Rocco Dobran preseason practice.
He makes you work really hard. One thing that he always preaches to us is about the faith, family, education thing before football every day, and he's always got some type of new slogan every year, like win the day. There's always something that he makes you want to work a little bit harder for.
How about you, Tyson?
Daily practice. We start with our pre-practice, which is kind of like before we stretch, we kind of quarterbacks and stuff get loose and throw the ball around, and everybody does the receivers group and the lineman group, they all get into like getting kind of warmed up before they start stretching. Then we stretch and go through our offense positions and get into team and stuff like that.
having played for the coach the last 3 years. What about as the season goes along after each game? Are the practices pretty much the same as preseason, or do you work on what maybe you didn't do well during the game or preparing for the upcoming game?
As soon as that Friday is over after we play, we are already moved on to the next game, and obviously we watch film on that Saturday morning, but after that we try and go right to preparing for the next week.
So Saturday you're watching film,
Yeah.
and then Monday through Wednesday you're preparing for the next game, or do you practice on Thursday as
We
well?
practice on Thursdays, but it's like a walkthrough. It's not really.
We kind of
just
have
go whatever
fun.
plays.
We try to have fun on Thursdays.
That's a
little
lighter
bit.
practice?
Lighter practice, have fun, and then kind of like just sharpen everything up mentally on the mental side.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't do any hitting, and they're out there in shorts. And we still wear shoulder pads just for the throwing and the catching. We don't want to keep getting used to that, but
Sure.
it's a shorter practice, and it's just kind of light before our team dinner.
I was asking Rocco what he thought of your scrimmage with the 3 other county teams. Let me hear what you guys have to think about it. Chance, who did you guys play? I know Geneva was there.
We played
Jefferson was
Geneva.
there.
We played Geneva, Jefferson, and Lakeside. I thought on all of them we did really well, especially on the O line. There was a few things that we had to work on, but overall I think we did pretty decent for the early season scrimmage.
We don't keep score in the scrimmage, or do
No, we were just doing 10 plays, then rotating.
we? Okay.
So
You've had other scrimmages, I think Mineral Ridge.
yeah.
And did that scrimmage go?
It went well. It went well. It was a good first look at what we had. We moved the ball very well, and they had one drive where they got some big plays on us. So it was good learning experience in the film room. What happened here or why. Were we playing our gap or that kind of thing. So, but it was definitely a positive scrimmage. We got a lot out of we felt a lot better in that scrimmage this year than we did in past years.
And that was here in Conneaut, that scrimmage with
Yes.
Ridge? And then the other one was down in Jefferson?
It was in Jefferson, yes.
Yeah, any more scrimmages, or is that it now?
No, this Friday night's our preview scrimmage. They call it a jamboree now, and we'll play like a true half, like with the game clock and everything.
Oh, is this something new?
No, we've done it before. It's just it's every other year. So we play Newton Falls. Last year we played at Newton Falls. This year we're going to play home. So Friday night home, and it starts at 6 o'clock with the young guys, but probably around 7 o'clock we'll have that varsity scrimmage starting with the game clock, everything for one half, and then it's over. So
And this is open to the
open air public. Since it's a third scrimmage, the state mandates that we charge. So I don't know if it's gonna be like $2 or $4, but it's open for the public. It's just like a $2 charge or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what our administration set up, but it's cheaper than a normal game. It's just something.
That's kind of like your final tune-up before you go into
Yes,
the
yeah.
LeBray game.
Yes.
Now, I know what I wanted to ask you. Playing these Pennsylvania schools in Pennsylvania, your away games, are the rules any different? Are there any different rules that we should be aware of?
All the main rules, like most of our rules we get off nationally, and they get nationally. So any big rule is going to be the same. There just might be some minor little detail rules that change as you go. So there might, just little things with like maybe the clock, or I know 2 years ago or 3 years ago when we played the cash team, they had that whole if you're down by 30 it's a running clock, and we didn't have that then, but now Ohio has that. So there might be some little minor rules that are a little different, but all the major rules are the same as far as holding and clipping and how many yards off and that. So everything's kind of national.
So it's not what I heard at first when we first were going in this league. When we play over there, we play by their rules. When they come over here, we play by our rules. I heard that to begin with.
Yeah, the first thing I heard was that for us to be in the league, if we're playing a league game, even if it's in Ohio, we got to use PA refs because there are minor rule adjustments. Like I know a couple of years ago, like they didn't have a kickoff rule where, like our kickoff rule, once it goes 10 yards, you can recover it, but like we had a rule where you can go kill the guy. You can go hit that first guy and then recover the ball. And then they took that rule away but not here. So there's like little rules. They're just very minor rules that are different. So they said if we're in their league, we got to use PA refs. And I don't know if that's changed or not. I don't know if that's, because somebody just actually today said, I thought that changed. I thought that we could use Ohio refs in Ohio and PA. But I was always told that we're using PA refs even in the Ohio games, at least for the league games.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure exact, I never got the final say on that. I try not to worry about the refs because
Nothing you can
I
do
feel,
about it.
I feel like nothing you can do about it, and like any other thing, the more positive you stay, the better. And if you argue with refs, it's just going to make things worse the rest of the game. So it's kind of pointless to do that. So to me, it's just,
You're a type of guy that tries to keep your composure.
absolutely. I got to calm my assistants down usually. But definitely, I'm not a guy. I think it's kind of pointless, and it sends the wrong message to the kids, because you're telling the kids we're losing this game or whatever because of a bad call, when we probably did 10 things earlier in the game that are the reason we lost, not because of that last minute bad call. We lost earlier in the game because of a bad snap here, a bad snap there, or a fumble here, a fumble there. And that's probably we lost, not because of a bad call at the end of the game. So
Now, wait a minute here. I remember a game last year. I may have been the home opener. I'm not sure.
yes,
It looked like we had a touchdown in the end zone, and they actually gave the touchdown sign, I think. I'm not sure. But it took 6-7 seconds before they actually said it wasn't a touchdown.
yeah,
Was that the home opener?
yes, it was.
Yeah.
And I disagree with that call, but like I said, we had a bad snap for a safety earlier in the game. We had a bad snap where it put us at 3rd and 25 earlier in the game. We had a fumble at midfield earlier in the game. So if those things don't happen, then that doesn't matter. We're up by more than.
I know, but still.
So I understand. And that was a tough one. It's a tough
And
one
the
to take.
coaches in the booth next door
You know.
were even
Yeah.
saying,
And then we were still in the lead when that happened. So we allowed them to go 80 yards in under 2
yeah,
minutes
that
and
was
score.
the bad thing.
So there was a lot of things that
Yeah.
happened that it is what it is, and there are bad calls, and I don't think any refs make bad calls on purpose. The only time I've ever gotten a ref, and it hasn't really happened, but if I thought they were really on purpose trying to hurt our team, our kids,
Right.
and then that's when I get into an argumentative mode, hey, it's about the kids, not about you. But I think 90% of the time, even 95% of the time, if it's a bad call, it's not on purpose. They're doing their best. They're trying to make the right call.
What explanation did you finally get on that? Why it
I
wasn't
never
ruled a touchdown?
got an explanation. They said he fumbled before the line, and it was very obvious on film that he was about 3 or 4 yards into the end zone before he fumbled. So I never got a true explanation of. They just said he fumbled before, and that I wasn't able to see. But we have sideline video now, where as the play shoots, we get the play right on the sideline, but the refs aren't allowed to look at that. But we could see it. We're like, he didn't fumble. He was 4 yards in the end zone before he fumbled. And they're just going to stick to their word. So it is what it is. But.
Tyson and Chance, is it? Yeah. How much is motivation? Do you look at in that game of football? How do you have to be motivated to play that game?
For sure. Motivation kind of drives everything that you do, not just in football, but in life. If you don't have any motivation, you're not going to be able to accomplish anything.
So you want to go up there upbeat no matter what the other team's record is, and if you're playing a team that's 0-6 versus a team 6-0, you're going to go in there with the same kind of attitude.
Yeah.
Chance?
Yeah, motivation is huge when it comes to football. If you're not motivated, you're not going to play well. You don't have that right mindset to do well. And if you're motivated, you to me, I think you play better. You have to have the same motivation going into every game, every practice.
I usually ask the coach this question, but I'm going to try it with you guys this time. What is your coach's disciplinary policy?
Regarding what? Depends.
If he needs to take some disciplinary action against somebody, or whatever.
It's usually running. We usually have a lot of running to do if we get in trouble. Something along the lines of conditioning most of the time.
Running after practice, you mean, or running during practice? Or
Depends.
At the end of practice or something. We do something wrong as a team. We do running, do sprints.
Are they giving the correct answer?
Yeah, pretty much. We tried to install a little bit this year, and we haven't been great with it, but we're trying to get them closer knit as units. So we're trying to make that unit condition or run. And we try not. Sometimes it is running, but sometimes it's bear crawls or duck walks or things that are more physically tough. But so if a running back is late to practice, we try to have all the running backs run, not just that one kid. so that he sees he's affecting his whole unit, his whole group. If it's something minor, like they're just doing something on the line, like we see lack of effort during a practice or something, it might just be get that kid out, do 5 or 10 up downs, and then get them back in. So we're not wasting a whole lot of practice time. It gets another kid a chance to get in there and then get back in. So the practice keeps moving because we don't want to stop practice. But so most of the time, as long as it's a minor disciplinary issue, you know, we try to keep them running as a unit, and or if it's a team thing, sometimes we'll have the whole team. You know, we had all the seniors do it once. You know, conditioning. You know, because we thought it was a leadership. We thought it was a leadership issue. Like,
Sure.
Hey, these young kids are doing the wrong thing because they're seeing their leaders do it wrong. So we're just gonna have the seniors do the conditioning without them. They could watch. And they didn't like that very much, but it's just to get across, like, the point of, hey, they're going to do what you do, so, we'll see what happens with that, and sometimes I think it works, and sometimes it doesn't work. It is what it is, but we're always trying to get them to do the right things, and really they're a great group of guys, and they, most of the time that we've run this year is because, hey, we need better conditioning. It has nothing to do with discipline, nothing to do with that kind of stuff. So.
Well, I thank you guys for coming in. I know you're excited about this season. I'm excited about this season. I'm going to start my 25th year calling the Spartans
That's awesome.
football games, and I can't wait for this one to get started. And I think you'll have a successful year.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay, Conneaut Spartan football preview. That's another edition of Around the Town with Chuck.